We're talking. Can anyone hear us?
All right.
Hey, folks, welcome to the DarkHorse podcast live stream where we face enemies who create problems, but this was not one of those problems. This was a problem that we created for ourselves. Sorry for the dead air at the beginning.
Things weren't feeling complicated enough.
No, they weren't complicated enough.
No.
But let's orient you all. First of all, hopefully most of you are watching this on Odyssey. Maybe you are listening to it on your favorite podcast distribution app. Some of you may be watching it on YouTube. You should be warned because the sword of Damocles continues to hangeth above the DarkHorse. We will be terminating the stream on YouTube shortly after a brief orientation to our censorship battle, and you will move over to Odyssey. You might be more comfortable if you moved now, but if you're listening on a podcast app or you're watching on Odyssey, then just sit back, relax, and have a listen. So the censorship battle continues. Those of you who have not read Matt Taibbi's recent piece as of yesterday on the current state of the censorship battle should do so. I believe it is behind a paywall, but I would say as a longtime subscriber of Matt's, I believe his content is absolutely worth paying for, and I would recommend signing up for it. Maybe that piece will emerge from behind the paywall at some point. But in any case, it is excellent. One of the things that Matt has found out...
Did we want to put that up?
Yes. Could you put up a
It's here.
image of that, Zach? Or yes, there you go. Here we can see Matt's excellent piece. One of the things that he found out in talking to YouTube, and apparently YouTube talking to anybody about who they censor is pretty unusual. But one of the things that he found out is that they apparently are in consultation with governmental authorities in formulating their censorship policy, which obviously raises First Amendment questions. So have a look at the article. Now, as to what we are doing, those of you who have been following us closely know that YouTube demonetized both of our channels and that it has effectively drawn a line in the sand. It has invited us to reapply if we would like, but obviously the quid pro quo would be one of our self-censorship in order to rejoin YouTube's monetization program.
This is inside baseball, and I know that that I wish I didn't have to care about this, but demonetization and what was happening to us before with the strikes is actually somewhat different. Although I went back and found some screenshots of we've been soft demonetized before, which is where we get less ad revenue for the ads that they're rolling. And in fact, the first time that they soft demonetized us, which is to say we're making less per view than we were, was after our very first two live streams back in March of 2020. Now, what were we talking about in those first two live streams? We were disagreeing, for instance, with the U.S. Surgeon General and the WHO at the time, having recently been arguing that masks are useless, and you were basically laughable if you were interested in wearing them to protect yourself against coronavirus. That is the sort of advice that we were giving back in March 2020, which seems to have prompted a soft demonetization by YouTube then. We have, in the last, month to 2 months, had several videos taken down, and somehow each of which resulted, the collective of which resulted in only a single strike on each channel, which caused us to not be able to post on either of those channels for a week after that first strike. 3 strikes and you're out. Meaning 3 strikes actually within a 90-day period, and you lose the channel permanently. But this demonetization thing is sort of outside of their strike system. So they seem to be making up the rules as they go along, which, part of what we are seeing and what we're pointing out is this is exactly this is what they see as their right, their platform, their rules. And not only don't we get to make them or question them, but we don't get to know what they are at any given point in time. So the demonetization means they're going to keep running ads, and they're just going to take all the revenue from those ads, and we don't get any of it, effectively making our content theirs.
Yes. So we have been removed from the monetization program, and that obviously, as we have mentioned online, removes more than half of our family income. That we are not going to be cowed by this. Obviously, we are talking about the issues that we are discussing because they are vitally important, and we will get to some of that importance later on in the live stream. But recognize that this leaves us in a position where we have to scramble and we have to find sources of revenue to make up for that. And so one of the things that we are doing is we are releasing a new pair of shirts that you could purchase to help us fight censorship. And I think you're really going to like this. And while I hesitate to call it a fact, the strong possibility that everybody on your block is going to be wearing one soon, and you should be first, is something you should be aware may be coming down the pike.
Wow,
So,
that's rather remarkable.
yes, I don't know why I said that. But anyway, so let us show some images of these shirts. So this is our new shirt. And you can see, for those of you who are listening and not watching, it is a beautiful t-shirt that has the word Goliath spelled out in a way that is perhaps reminiscent of the type of presentation that is sometimes deployed by our enemies here. And then let's show the back of the shirt. The back of the shirt says, "Don't be evil, we've got that covered." All right. So anyway, these Goliath shirts are, I think, going to be quite excellent. They are locally made somewhere. I have no doubt about that.
Certainly within the solar system.
They are made of humanely harvested cotton.
You don't know that.
So there was no suffering to the cotton plants whatsoever. And they are kosher for Passover. So, I mean, I wouldn't eat them. But actually, there's a section of Catch 22 in which Milo Minderbinder attempts to do away with a bunch of cotton that he's gotten stuck with by feeding it to people.
He does, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. That is lurking
So
somewhere.
where can they find these shirts?
Where can they find these shirts? They can find these shirts at Teespring/
I think there's some more.
DarkHorse?
I don't know.
Store.darkhorsepodcast.org. And there is a coupon code for 10% off. And the coupon code
Through this weekend, I believe.
Through this weekend is divide by and then the number 0. So the word divide by, all caps, and the number 0, which is our invitation to Google that they should, at their earliest convenience, divide by 0 and thereby solve the censorship problem. All right. So I think we have arrived at the point where we are going to end the YouTube stream, and hopefully everyone has comfortably moved over to Odyssey. If you have not, the link is in the description, and you should do so now. And we will now start the official